we are going to have to adapt. The Princess of Wales hopefully back to work after Easter, but we just don't know. And we don't know how long the King is going to be away from public duties. And a slimmed down monarchy, well, it happened by default. With Harry leaving and the Duke of York's disgrace. So they are looking pretty thin on the ground, and I think that is increasingly a challenge for the royal family. You've only got 4 members under the age of 70 in the working royal pack at the moment, and when you take the Princess of Wales out of that, they do look ageing and very thin on the ground.
Now, the Times reports this morning on the sort of strains, really, on the royal family, the slimmed-down monarchy. There are apparently plans to allow Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales to hand out honours to try to spread the load of royal duties given the slimmed-down monarchy. The King's been telling aides that he still wants to be involved, particularly in the annual Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey. That comes up on the 11th of March. So he's recorded a special video message. So with this new kind of virtual opportunity, can the royal family still fulfil all the duties that it's expected to execute? Let's speak to Sarah Hewson, who's Talk TV's royal editor. Morning, Sarah.
Morning, Callum.
Really good to speak to you. So, yeah, just how strained is the royal family becoming?
Well, look, we're talking at the end of a week in which we've had Prince William causing panic when he pulled out of his godfather's memorial service at the last moment. We had the spectre of the Duke of York leading the royal family and European royals into St George's Chapel, and some wild internet conspiracy theories asking, where is Kate? It is becoming increasingly challenging for the royal family, with the King and the Princess of Wales both away from public duties. And so they're looking at modern technology. It's something that they did during COVID, and it's being employed again now. So you mentioned there the Commonwealth Day service on March the 11th. That's a really big event for the royal family taking place at Westminster Abbey. The King wants to play a role in it, but on medical advice, he can't attend big gatherings like that. So he's recorded a video message at Windsor Castle this week that will be broadcast around the world on Commonwealth Day next month. They're also, we've seen, Privy Council meetings, we've seen the meetings with the Prime Minister. They can take place virtually, but we're getting more and more videos released from the King. For example, we saw him opening his cards and chuckling away as he did that. 5.5 million people have viewed that on social media channels. And so I think the palace is going to be keen to embrace that, to keep up with that adage from the late Queen that the royal family need to be seen to be believed. But you also mentioned spreading the workload. Investiture is one of those kind of bread and butter jobs for members of the royal family. It's only blood royals who can carry that out. And at the moment, it's only the King, the Prince of Wales, and the Royal Princess Anne. But they're looking, it's reported, at whether they can expand that and whether maybe Camilla and Kate might be able to hand out the gongs as well. I don't think that's going to be controversial at all. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining if the Princess of Wales is there giving them their honour. But just one of the ways they might be able to adapt if the King is off duties for a longer period. Some things, though, Callum, much harder. They've got the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit, for example, coming up in the autumn, which he would very much like to attend. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I should just say that I'm in Aberdeen this morning, so the noise you hear behind me is some sort of coffee machine being wheeled around the place, so apologies for that. Sarah, is this just a new chapter then? Oh no! Is this just a new chapter then, briefly, for the royal family? We often talk about that. We talked about that when King Charles took over. We've talked about that in the slimmed down monarchy era. Is this just us coming to terms with what that actually means in reality, in terms of what we see and expect and demand of the royal family?
Look, if it's a new chapter, it's certainly not one that they would have wanted to be entering. I mean, this year, after the difficulties of last year, if you think we started last year with the publication of Spare, they really hoped that they would be able to get on with business and focus on duties this year. And it has been thrown into disarray by the medical crises that we have. We are going to have to adapt. The Princess of Wales hopefully back to work after Easter, but we just don't know. And we don't know how long the King is going to be away from public duties. And a slimmed down monarchy, well, it happened by default with Harry leaving and the Duke of York's disgrace. So they are looking pretty thin on the ground, and I think that is increasingly a challenge for the royal family. You've only got 4 members under the age of 70 in the working royal pack at the moment. And when you take the Princess of Wales out of that, they do look ageing and very thin on the ground.
I think, like everybody, I was surprised and obviously initially unsettled and alarmed. And of course, one sympathy goes out towards the king and members of the royal family. I think releasing this information is helpful. I think it's very important. Speculation is dangerous. Sometimes speculation can be corrosive. I thought that the announcement was in line with what feels like the openness of the current reign, albeit if you look at the statement issued by the palace, there is still a degree of discretion around the king's condition, which seems typical of royal announcements about health of members of the royal family. He's not the first member of the royal family to have had cancer. He's the first reigning monarch in Britain in the modern age to have had cancer publicly like this while on the throne. After all, his great uncle, Edward VIII, died of cancer, albeit he wasn't king at the time. I think the problem here is that one of the things that the monarchy gives the nation is stability, and something about this obviously is very unsettling, and the king will wish to continue to embody stability for the nation, to be this figurehead of reliability and dependability. But my own feeling is that people will applaud this openness. They will recognize that there are benefits to other people about people in public life being frank in this way. And of course, the king, as the head of the church, I think may make a reasonable assumption that members of the church will wish to pray for him at this moment. Well, of course, that's impossible for us to say, isn't it? I mean, what we know about the king is that he is a man of faith, and so he will be sustained by his faith at this moment. He's fortunate in a loving marriage and close bonds within his family, including with his siblings, and all of those things I would have thought would be enormously sustaining. I suspect, as a man who's shown himself time and time again to be a workaholic and ceaseless in his engagement with his public duties, there'll be a high element of impatience too, a real desire to get back to the everyday business of the public side of monarchy. I think it doesn't need to be destabilizing if information is released as and when that becomes necessary and desirable. I think people have been told that the king will continue with his official role as head of state. He'll continue to carry out those tasks that can be done from home. And therefore, there is no sense that the constitutional side of monarchy is in any way wobbling or unstable. And I think people will wish him the speediest and fullest recovery, and will therefore recognize that a rest from public engagement is probably desirable at this point.